Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our Tubelite Denco Summer Exchange Webinar series. Today we have Paul Southard from Current Lighting, and he will be discussing the Current Lighting Tetra LT and Tetra Contour Gen 2, among other things. So, Paul?
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction, and glad all you all could be here. I'm going to go ahead and start off with a presentation. I want to talk about a few things. Talk about a few things first before I get there. Yeah, do something real quick. I'm sure I had renamed this, but it went back to the original name. Oh, there it is. Oh. All right. You know, you always tend to reuse an old presentation, so there we are. Right. So, we'll call it the first term jitters. Can you all see all this right now?
Yes.
Peggy? Thank you. I'll get one person to answer yes the whole time, Peggy. So what I want to do is just quickly splash over the whole product line. Just kind of give the depth of product that we have right now. I'm going to touch on these real quick, and then I'll end up on just the Tetra LT and the Contour Gen 2. So what I wanted to start off with is that we do have a very broad line for, I don't know if everybody knows our product line very well. I'm assuming most of you do. But, we have the Atom, which is like a 1 to 3 inch depth product, very bright, 186 lumens per foot. The Tetra MS, again, 1 to 3 inch depth. The first product was 6 per foot, second product's 4 per foot. Then we have Tetra Mini Max, which it can go down to 1.5 inch. Generally, I would focus it on a 3 inch range in depth, which 110 lumens per foot. It's 2 modules per foot. We have the Tetra Max, which, kind of is your bread and butter, 5 inch depth can, 150 lumens, great performance. It's pretty much what I'd say most of our drawings are done with. 150 lumens per foot, and Peggy, anytime I say something wrong, correct me. It'd be great. At about 1.5 modules per foot. Then you have the Tetra Power Max, which is, to me, I would more focus it on just maybe more difficult materials or 6 inches in depth or greater kind of products. Tetra Power Max, 200 lumens per foot. Then and those first 5 are all 24 volt, 10-year warranty products. Now, the Tetra LT that we're going to be talking about is more of a price fighter product. It comes in 3 different sizes, which I'll go into more depth. Then we have the Tetra Select, which is a 12 volt product line. You're going to be buying that in larger quantities, probably closer to 600 feet in per box. And correct me if I'm wrong on that, Peggy. And then, that's going to go from 2 to 6 inches in depth and can go from more like your Mini Max all the way up to your Power Max. And when it comes to brightness, we do have some tape also. It's kind of your standard tape. We have a standard NHO that I think a lot of people use and they're pretty happy with. We do have the single-sided snap product line, which really is kind of a beefy Power Max product. And if you look at the information on the side of the module, it says basically Power Max H, which is 200 lumens per module. It's very bright. Like I said, we'll use that in a single-sided snap or in very tough applications where you need a lot of light. We also have the Tetra Snap double-sided, which is really just rolling off the shelves. We have a lot of clients that like it a lot. We do over 10,000 drawings a year, and anything with a box sign has this in it, unless specified otherwise by the client. And it can go from 650 lumens per foot up to 1,000 lumens per foot, depending on if you snap it into the standard, kind of the high output, and then the ludicrous mode. Then we have some different kind of box products. We all have Tetra sticks, or we have stick products, 18 inches up to 120 inches in standard NHO outputs. We have the 2 different styles of edge strips for like blade signs. Between like 3 and 6 inches in depth. And then we also have the new Tetra Slim Edge strips that came out recently, which can do 2 inches at double-sided, that I think you'll find is very functional. I've had a lot of success with that lately. We do, which we'll get into the Contour Gen 2, which we'll talk about the changes that have happened with that. along with the Tetra Contour Flex, which I'm also very excited about, very lustrous, output super uniform like the new Gen 2. Then we have some Edge products, which is the Edge line and the Batten product lines. These are more like if you're walking up to a C-store, you step up on the sidewalk, you have the overhead lights above you. It needs to be under an overhead product for both of them. The Edge line is 24 volts. You can get 24 feet, 20 feet per 100-watt power supply. And the Batten is a self-contained driver, which means that it's actually 110 volts, and it can get up to about 56 feet in length on a standard 110 connection. So and again, I think that we need to mention all the power supplies. We do have a suite of power supplies at the 12-volt range, which we're not going to be talking about today because we're focused on the 24 product range. But when it comes to the LT line, the Max, and pretty much any of any 24-volt line that we mostly sell today, all these power supplies are 5-year warranty, except for the 100U TT or the Titan power supply, which comes out of the box at a 10-year warranty. But most people focus on the 100-watt 100U there, the GLX2, but we do have a 200-watt and a 300-watt power supply, which you'll be using with either the Contour or the Tetra LT is the reason I brought them up. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of the Tetra LT. I'll be also pushing my camera back and showing you some products, showing you the product and giving some different insight in it also. So now the Tetra LT was developed because we did need a price fighter product. GE, I'll keep saying GE because that's how most of you know us, but it's really Current Lighting. GE has been known for having the more expensive product. People don't even want to talk to us half the time because they're like, oh, you're too expensive. Well, and the reason for that, we're mostly focused on specifications, and the product was value added for life, longevity, total performance over the life of the product, right? Now, and also it had a broader range of color temperatures where it went from 7100 down to 2700. Where the Tetra LT is coming in as it is, it's a 5-year warranty product made a little bit differently. It's designed to be a price fighter and be cost competitive. Now, when we talk about price fighting, though, I think that we need to add up all the pieces that make it a price fighter. Part of it is a lot of the products that we're still competing with on a day-to-day basis are 12 volts. 12-volt power supplies, where our product is a 24-volt power supply. Now, the thing that I think you have to always remember on a lot of the 12-volt products is that, a lot of them don't have constant current chips or a way to manage the voltage loss down the line. Now, if you look at, say, a standard product that doesn't have a constant current product in it, if you're to light it up at the very beginning, you might have 120 lumens. By the time you get to the very end, you're looking at about 58 lumens if you haven't center tapped it or broken it up into pieces, right? So that adds a little complexity, a little more training, right? And those are things that, are over time are, setting yourself up for mistakes. I would say that when you're looking at building and you have newer employees, because everybody seems to be struggling to have a new employee or to get a new employee. So if you can just make it simpler and also reduce the risks of errors, this would be a great product to help you out. Now, if you looked at that, that's probably about a 51% degradation in light. This is all tested. Anybody can do the same test, get the same results. It's just about measurements, voltage losses down the line. And, and when you have voltage losses, you have current loss, you have reduced output. So we came up with the product that doesn't have that issue. You can connect it at the end. You're going to run it all the way to the other end. You're going to get the same output and without any issues. One thing that is going to happen, though, is we will have a lower or fewer CCTs. We're only going to have 7100, 6500, 5000, and 4100 instead of having the warmer whites toward the end that the Tetra Max product line has. Also, at this moment, we don't have colors, but we are working on them, and we will be coming out with them. Maybe Peggy, if you wouldn't mind, I think you probably remember better than I do when we're looking to come out with them, but I'm not that close to that part of the conversation. So if you feel like chirping up, please do. The other thing is that these modules are smaller compared to the Tetra Max product line. if you look at this, the shallow, medium, and deep that we have for this product line, the shallows, it's smaller than the Mini Max. Our medium is smaller than the Tetra Max, and the deep is smaller than the Power Max. Strangely, they're all brighter than the Mini Max, Max, and Power Max, just by a few steps up, which I'll show you in just a minute here. Wanted to leave my phone near me so I can make sure I keep on time. All right, so again, I'm going to show you some of the different loadings that come with this product. Again, it's a 5-year warranty product, so you may not see it specified in a lot of programs, but could it be? Yes. Is it a discussion that we can have? Absolutely. Right. If you have a program where the only way that you're going to be in the program is to have the Tetra LT pricing, and we need to talk about, can we step it up to a 10-year warranty? That's a conversation. It's not a no, but it's not always a yes either. So we just wanted to make sure that that's potentially on the table, but this is really meant to be more of a price fighter product where you have your better best. This is better, power, the Tetra Max best. Okay. Now, the great thing about, for me, whenever I'm selling this product and talking about Tetra LT in general, is the smaller size, which will fit into different areas. It's a little bit brighter. It's a tiny bit more efficient than the previous products that we've had, than the Tetra Max is. But the thing that I like a lot about it is I call it the unibacking. Now, the uniback, we actually went through probably 12 different iterations on the tape on the back. One, is it sticky enough? Does it stay on? Is it too sticky and you try to pull off and all it tears? Does it fall off during shipment? Does it break apart too quickly? Now, what we did is we found that obviously there's perforations on every one of these. And by having the perforations on them, it gives you the opportunity to break them apart and then cut the amount that you're going to use. And then when you store the rest of it, it stays in a very unified, easy to handle again measure. But the other part is, so many of us, even on the Tetra Max right now, you have to pick off every piece of tape. So it's a little bit of work. Pick, right? So you get them all off. And then what everybody forgets about is you spend all that time getting them all off, and you still have to clean them up. So again, it's time. So I think the Tetra LT, especially with the uniback, is that you're going to find that it comes off much quicker. Now, what we also did is that there's a small little lip edge on the one side that is not connected to the tape itself, so it's easy to get hold of. Also, that thin line all the way down from the very first one to the last one you're going to use doesn't have a perforated cut in it. So when you start to pull it off, it just doesn't tear off immediately. So that helps a lot when it comes to speed of install and then speed of cleanup. Now when we talk about 12 volts and 24 volt, to me, again, when I talk about the Tetra LT product line, it has to do with how can I save you money? And comparing the 24 to the 12, if it's always about, let's say a set of channel letters where you're only ever going to use 160-watt power supply, does the Tetra LT have an advantage? No, other than the uniback, and some of the other competitors have this. But what happens when you get up to 2 power supplies? Now, let's say that I'm looking at 2 power supplies compared to, or one 100-watt power supply is almost equal to 2 60-watt power supplies. Now, if I look at it this way, let's say that my labor rate is, let's just say $60 an hour, just because it makes the math easier. And to install a power supply takes about 15 minutes. So if you have to install 2, that took an extra 15 minutes, which relates to $15, right? So I've saved $15, or it adds to the cost of the whole system, where it makes my Tetra LT compared to a lot of the 12-volt systems very competitive. You look at the cleanup and the ease of install, that could save you minutes also, which I'm sure it does. And compared to, especially if you're going to go after like a Hanley or somebody like that, I don't want to use the other guys that you guys might sell, but other companies that don't have the uniback. I think that you're going to find that the speed to install, the ease of handling afterward, the fewer power supplies, all compared to 12 volt, it's a very strong conversation. And you're going to use a product that has been tested, tried and true, like I'm going to use the word GE again, where GE has always done that, because that's the way we still develop and manage all of our products. So if you want to make sure that you're going to get a great product that is very cost effective, if you're going to just always judge it by the module, we may not win. If you judge it by the system, we have a great chance. Add in the labor, we have a great chance of winning the business. But if you just always talk module price, it might be tougher for us. But I'll move on. So the shallow, one thing, the beam angle, all of these have 170-degree beam angle. Great product, great illumination. Much like the Tetra Max, a little bit better than some of the Tetra Max, a little bit less than some of the other ones. They're all 24 volt. The shallow, 60 lumens per module, and then you have, excuse me, and then you have 120 lumens per foot. The second one, you have 118 lumen. The medium, you have 177 lumens per foot. And then the deep has always surprised me because you have 180 lumens per module, but you still have 252 lumens per foot. So, I mean, it's pretty much like, wow, it's super bright. So compared to, let's say, Prism, Agilite, and we call it, internally, we call them PLED, principal LED, the Patriot there. If you look at that, lumens per module, we have 118, Sloan had 138, Agilite had 80, and PLED had 96. But you look at lumens per foot, we're at 177, Prism had 207, Agilite had 122, and the Patriot had 160. So far, we're doing very well. With Sloan looking like they have a bit of a bump there. They have 1.2 modules per foot. We have 1.5, so that kind of gives them, that they just have a brighter module, right? You get down to lumens per watt, we're a little bit more efficient, so we have 164, 160, 163, and 112, which that 112 is a big difference. So we can get 80 or 120 modules on a 100-watt power supply, where Sloan can get 104. Right? They can get 86.7 feet, but they can only get 104 modules. So I would say that the amount of light that you can get on per power supply is less compared to ours. Now we're saying spacing at 12, their document says 115. Now, I'm not sure if they're at 170 or 175, but it seems quite a bit of a bigger step than I would have expected, where Agilite had 9.8 and PLED had 16. So again, unless their beam angles that much greater than ours, I'd be surprised, but we're going to leave that one. Now, why are we having a product that costs less than our Tetra Max? Well, the way we built it is just different. Usually on the Tetra Max product line, we use an IDC technology, which means insulation displacement connection technology. So the wire is one continuous piece all the way through all the wires. This, we're actually not doing that. So it's a bunch of separate wires. They're actually soldered onto the back of the circuit board. The componentry is slightly different, not as quite as high end as we have for our 10-year warranty product. So we end up with a 5-year warranty product. If anything that you would do, I would still ask for a sample and test it, because everything works subtly different. But I think you could pretty much drop in this for the Max at any moment. Other than you're sacrificing the 5 years. Now, the way I tend to talk about this product against Max is that if I held out, I usually say 3 fingers and 3 fingers because I usually don't include snap in the conversation. But if I did, it'd be 4 Max fingers and 3, and 3 LT fingers, and they kind of mesh in perfectly in between each one, as you can see from the data in front of you. All pretty much 13 to 14 inch. Spacing at a 5-inch depth. It go from Tetra Mini Max 110, LT, it goes to 120, Tetra Max to 150 per foot. LT 177, again, brighter than our standard Tetra Max product line. And Power Max is at 200, and then it jumps quite a bit on the Tetra LT Deep at 252. And the Tetra Snap, it's a 200 lumens per module product, so it's pretty much a kicker, and it's getting up to 280. But I think it shows you that you have the flexibility to use the shallow, the medium, or the deep in any situation where you're using the Mini Max, the Max, Power Max, and the double-sided snap, or the single-sided snap Power Max H product that we have. So I think it's pretty. And I'd apologize if anybody's asking questions. I can't see them when I'm doing this display right now because I have it in full screen mode. So if you have any questions, please feel free to speak up at any moment. I'd rather this be interactive if you want.
So there are no questions yet, but if there are any, I will let you know.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So again, it's going to go kind of this nomenclature. GE LT 24 volt, and then the XX is either 71, 65, 50, or 41 for each one of the products. So you have the GE LTS for shallow, GE LTM for medium, GE LTD for deep. Again, 320 feet per box. So the Max product line has all 100 feet per box in every product, where the LT product line has 320 feet per box for the whole line, and the Select, I believe, is 600 feet per box. So it's again, we're selling you more at once, a little bit lower price. Select is 12 volts, and the LT is 24 volt. All right, so perfect, right on time. All right, but before I do that, let me skip.
Okay, looks like we lost Paul for a second. He's coming back. There you are, Paul.
Yeah, I think we
Gotcha.
have a thunderstorm going on outside. Let me go back to share. Or actually, let's not. Okay. So if you look at what we have, you can see me right now. What I wanted to show you is on the LT product line, it's going to come in a slightly bigger bag, right? And when you pull it out, sorry if it's noisy, you pull it out, you're going to have like 4 sections per bag that they're all connected. And I'm going to go ahead and show you a smaller section. But again, when I was talking about the lip edge here, if you look, there's a small lip that you can get onto. You start to peel off, and then as you're going, you can just peel it down, and you can then peel these apart, or you can peel them apart beforehand, but I'd probably do it this way, so now you're not cleaning up anything. And you just peel it as you go, and when you get done, you cut the end. And even if you peel it off, you can stick it back on for a while and use it on the next job. But to me, a great little system. And I know some of our competitors have, but like I said, this one edge here, this whole edge is continuous. There's no perforations in it, but the rest of them, you can see that you could tear apart and perforate and make your life easier if you only needed, say, 7 modules, or if you needed, 7 more. So like I said, it's a pretty simple product to work with. And then when you're done, you can put it away and it doesn't ever get tangled. All right, so now we're going to talk about contour. So I'm going to go through contour, then I'm going to bring you back to another visual display because I think the presentation is much better to look at than this guy, even though I did shave my head today. So that's super great. But let's go back to the presentation. All right, now the great thing about the new product is that it's actually quite a bit more uniform than what we had before. Now the contour has been around for years. I mean, like 18 years, around 19 years right now. And I think a lot of people don't quite understand what you can do with contour, or just what it is. Most people just use it for border lighting. We have a lot of accessory pieces, like, flip back real quick, sorry. Get back here, sorry. Can you all see me right now?
Yes.
Okay, good. The one thing that I don't think a lot of people actually realize in the product line is that we have.
Well, Paul, sorry. We actually still see your presentation.
Oh, sorry. There we go. You see me now?
Yes.
Like that commercial. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So what I don't think a lot of people understand is that there's a lot of accessory pieces for the Tetra Contour. Like one of them here is an in-plane corner. So you would attach 2 different pieces this way. So you'd have like a picture frame corner. We have an interior corner. So it gives you the ability to put 2 pieces together. So you have an interior corner. And this clear one's a little harder to see, but this is an exterior corner like on the outside of a building. What it does is it gives you some flexibility along the line. So when the parts expand and contract, because all these products are plastic, So they're going to expand and contract. So what it does is it gives you the ability within this part to have some expansion and not go and push the other piece off the corner of the building, right? So you always want to give yourself a little bit of room. Everyone wants to try to jam it to the end. That's actually a bad idea. You want to leave it where you have a little bit of space, like a ½ inch before it gets all the way. So it gives this one room to move it this way and true with the other. We also have, and this is quite a very great way to look at it, but we have an inline connector, which a lot of you are very familiar with. Again, if you do it, you want to leave yourself room in between, right? You'd probably end the light engine instead of having it flow through. I'm using this for a different piece, but it just snaps on. One side grabs on, one side will grab on, the other side will float. So it'll give you the ability for this one to move in and out a little bit. Again, the accessory pieces are all color aligned. We also have end caps. So you put the end cap on. Let you get it right. Once it's on, it's on. These are all color coded to the PCs that you're using. These are all acrylic. So if you ever had to, and this is me jumping ahead a little bit, if you ever had to, you could put vinyl on it if we don't have a color that matches the color code that you're looking for. So, I had one with green, and I put this piece of vinyl on in 2004 or 5, and it's been this way ever since. And it's been in my garage in San Antonio when I lived there, and it, the temperatures were up to 130 degrees, and we didn't have any problem with it. So, like I said, a lot of accessories. If you cut the light engine itself, there's a little bitty tiny, tiny end cap that could be, like I said, maybe if it's sticking out, if you've cut it, you can use this little end cap that will just slip right over the edge, and you can just fill it with silicone and put it on. If it meets up perfectly like it just did on this particular piece, you could just fill this up with silicone and then just smush it on, and it'll seal the end of the piece that you've cut and make sure that the end cap stays in place. So, I think, that's, like I said, really nice pieces. We have a metal mounting clip. So one of Christy Gonzalez, actually, she was saying that your salesperson in Florida, she was like, she likes the metal clips because when it gets super hot, she feels that they hang on better. They do have barbs. Let me see. They have little barbs here on the edges. So you can wire them down. Like if you have a high winds like they do sometimes in Southern Florida. We also have a clear version of it, clear polycarbonate that's been UV stabilized, that doesn't haze, craze, crack, or yellow over time. So the great thing about the product line, a lot of accessories, which can be confusing sometimes. That's the reason whenever somebody does a job, we do highly recommend that you let us do the drawings for you. And then we'll put in all the parts and pieces, all the exact numbers that you need, depending on where it needs to be cut and whatever corners you have, interior, exterior, and plane. And we'll make sure that you have the full list of materials. A lot of times people want to do it themselves. We're like, just please don't, because if you don't realize that you need something and you get to a job site and you don't have it, then you'll be mad. You'll be unsatisfied with the product. And that's just not what we're trying to do. Let us help you get the right answer. And then after you've learned the product, you probably and realistically won't need our help after that. But you really, the drawings are free anyway, so why not, right? So let's jump back into the presentation. There we go. So one of the great things, the older light engine that we had, and I won't flip back right now, but the older light engine that we had was unidirectional, meaning that it could be bent and turned fairly aggressively, and it could turn in any direction. But it also had a bunch of little circuit boards, and it had some twisted wires that gave it that flexibility. Now, what we found is that when you're trying to put the light engine into the light guide, what you'll find is that it was harder because the little light engines, our little circuit boards, has little harder edges, and sometimes they just don't want to seat in there. Also, when you're putting it in, if you started at one end and just kind of worked your way upward, it would actually stretch over the length. And after an 8-foot piece, you could end up with a 7, 8 inch piece sticking out, which it wasn't supposed to. So the new light guide, we have we have a side bend and a back bend. Now, a lot of people will think that the back bend is really meant for the outside of buildings, right? And, you know, I don't think you really need to, because I would probably still want to end it at the corner and use a corner piece to give myself the expansion and contraction flexibility. And also the bend radius is still only about a 2-inch bend radius. So going around the corner may not get you the look that you want. So I would probably still personally use a side bend product because it's less expensive and it gives you that flexibility. But if you're doing something where it truly needs to bend over something because of a design feature, then you need to go to the back bend. But I bet you'll, like 80% of the time, probably 85, use the side bend product on most of your applications because it is less expensive and has the same flexibility, other than you're probably not going to ever bend it around the corner. The other thing is that the new light engine, it's all right. This is where I'm gonna go back. The new light engine. There we go. I'm gonna kind of flip back and forth because this is very visual. The new light engine comes in a bag in 8 feet, an 8-foot length. So it'll be it'll be 4 2-foot sections. The previous product were 18 inches. All right, but the new product is 24 inches, and it looks fairly. I don't have one. All right, sorry about that. So the old product was clear all the way through. You could see the interior, all the guts and everything. With the new product, you can't. But what you will see, if you look through the top, you can actually see the light engine, which is a piece of tape along the side, which gives it the side bend flexibility. If you need back bend, if you look into the part itself, it'll be more frosted, so you won't be able to see the light engine. So if you look at the two, you'll know that the frosted one is the back bend, where the one you can see the LEDs is the side bend. Now, the thing is, it doesn't stretch, so you don't have to worry about that on the installation. And two, once you tend to get it going, it's going to mount just a whole lot faster than the previous product, where before, like this one here, you can pretty much just zip it in and not worry about it expanding. So it goes in about 80 to 85. It says 80 on that, but I'm pretty sure it's a lot faster than that. Having filled up, many 8-foot sticks with the other product, and with this one, this will be much, much, much faster. The cutting resolution on the particular product is between 3 and 4 inches, depending on the color. You can see the little, I don't know if you can see that, little cut marks along the side. And within a 2-foot piece, I can cut, so it'll go 2 feet, a loop, another 2 feet, a loop, another 2 feet, a loop, another 2 feet, and the wire, right? So if I cut it in the middle, I can use everything this way and everything that way. But on the flex, if I cut the 8-foot piece in the middle, I can only use the right-hand piece and the left-hand piece. If I cut it again, I lose more. So I'm not going to talk a ton about the flex, but when it comes to waste, you'll find that the contour will have less waste because it has more breaks in it. So if I cut it twice, I tend to lose less product. But again, if you cut it, you can use that little end cap that I showed you, or you can use just use the bigger cap when you put the end cap on and just glue the whole thing in. All right. Back to the presentation. And sorry if this is back and forth a lot, but I like to talk about a few things. So 80% faster, but what you're going to notice, the biggest drastic difference between the Contour Gen 1 and Gen 2 is that the Gen 2 is much, much, much more uniform. I was going to show you it, but I tried lighting it up and it just overwhelms the camera that I have on my computer. But if you've seen the two side by side, you'll be like, holy smokes, the Gen 2 is so much more uniform. Where I was like, well, the blue, you can see it has some, the blue and the green mostly had some, like, you could see kind of the LEDs, but if you moved off like 20 feet, you don't. So when you're on a building, you never really saw it. But now you can do really close up, in your face kind of, things like in windows, and it'll just look perfect. I mean, it really is. I'm shocked at how good it looks compared to the old product now. The one other thing that people don't quite tend to realize is that the Contour product line, the Contour Light Guide, is a heat formable product. Now, it usually takes about 310 degrees, and you usually have to put it in a tube heater. So if you're going to do a bigger job, we can talk to, Tubelite and say, I know that there's some heaters around that can either be borrowed or maybe rented. I know we have a 4-foot heater that we tend to loan out to people, but if you're going to do a whole 8-foot section, it's better to heat up the whole 8-foot piece. Now, if you have a thermoforming, a big thermoforming area, you could put in many pieces. But when you do this, when you go to heat up the light guide, you have to put in what's called a Band-Aid. And I personally don't have one in my house, but it looks like the light engine. It's just clear silicone. And it goes in kind of like blowing into a neon tube when you're trying to form it to keep it from collapsing. What it does, it keeps the sidewalls from collapsing so you can get the light engine back inside of it. Now, if you're going to do something complex, what you'd really want to do is you'd realistically want to router out a 3/4 inch MDF at about 5/8 and 5/8, 5/8 inch wide, 5/8 inch deep. And you want to do it in a reverse image so you can lay the light engine face in where the Band-Aid would be sticking out. The reason for that is the Band-Aid could fall out, and you have a very limited time to get the whole contour into the light guide form. Okay, now again, if you're going to do something complex, I mean, if it's just straight lines, obviously it's not a problem. You're not going to be heating it. Or if you need to bend around one thing, you can use a heat gun. Take you about 10 minutes and a lot of patience, but you can bend it. But you have to have patience, because if you get the gun too close, you'll bubble it and it'll just not look so great. But the great thing about it is if you heat it and put it in the form, it will cool after 5 minutes. You're going to have to pry it out a little bit, because once it's cool, it's kind of grabbed onto the form a little bit. So you pry it out, take your time, but when it's done, it's going to stay that way forever. Now, I have a little heart that I'm going to flip back, and that's at the bottom there. See, it can be mitered and glued, right? So I'm going to flip back because I just think it looks so great. Flip here. So this little heart here, I did this little heart in 2005, and it has traveled everywhere with me. Now, it does have the older light engine in it, and really it's 2 separate pieces, one piece here and one piece here. The key to doing complex shapes, and this is a very tight bend, so I say complex shape, is that what you would do is create 2 different shapes where it would be this form would be longer this way, and it'd be longer this way, and this one would be longer this way and longer this way. So you can miter cut it and glue it back together with like MEK or something like that that would melt acrylic together. Now I'm going to go ahead and light it up. I'm sure it's going to blow up the thing, but I'll try to back it up a little bit, see if I can help. But it's good. No matter what I do, I think it's going to be too much. But it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. And you can make seriously complex shapes. And this part has been, like I said, all over the world with me. It's probably been moved 6 times, 8 times, moved around quite a bit. And I would think that anybody that could craft this would find that it's easy to do, but you have to have a heater. You need to have a form. And then the other part that's super important with the contour, if you're going to do a shape like this, is that every lineal length needs to be the cut resolution of the light engine. Super important. Okay, if you're going to do it, and let's say that your customer wanted a sign that's exactly this big, right? Sometimes the difference of what you need to make them is either a tiny bit this way or a tiny bit this way to create those lineal lengths to make them about the right length so you can put the engine in and make it work. But we also have a nice, now at least I can get away with this, a nice variety of colors. We have actually a 6500. Now I happen to put the orange on top of this one, but this is a warm white. We have a red, orange, and amber, a green, and a blue. Now the nice thing is, again, if we don't have the right colors, you can mix and match them. Like if you want a true orange, because usually when you see this display, the orange light guide is usually over the red orange light engine, so it looks more red than orange. If you put it over the 3200 Kelvin, it looks seriously orange, like a deeper orange. Or you could put it over the 6500 white, and it's a lighter orange. Same thing with the yellow. If you put the yellow on top of the warm white, it's yellow as the day is long. But we tend to never show it that way in our display. It's usually over the amber, so it lights up as goldenrod. But if you don't like those, like I said, you can put your own vinyl on, and a clear vinyl that you could use on like anything that you would make in the shop that you want to light up. This lights up very well. It also can be heated and formed, just like vinyl when you're putting it on a car. You can heat it with the stick and then bend it in your form. It'll probably crinkle on the edges a little bit, but I think you're going to be surprised at how good it's going to look, especially if you're using a custom color. But you can make a wide variety of different colors by mixing and matching the light guides with the light engines. So I would, if you haven't had one of us do that for you, or if you have one of your own, I would suggest you just kind of tear your whole thing apart, give it all a look, and see if you can find something that suits your fancy. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that when the product comes to you, it comes with a clear cover to keep it from being marred in shipping. At times, I wonder if we should really do this, but once you do it, you want to open the middle up first and then peel it off. If you don't get the middle open first, it's a little bit harder to get undone. Or you could just cut the middle with a razor blade and it should peel off pretty quickly. But I would love to hear your thoughts on what you think about the clear coating that comes along with the product line. So let's jump back in once more. I think I am. Ooh, better hurry. Better hurry. All right, so like I said, we have all the colors. We also have specialty clips. So if you didn't want to ever use the light, if you didn't want to use the light guide, you just wanted to use this as a light source. You can see that's where the old, on the right here was the old flexible one. This one in the middle is a side bend because you can see into it, and the frosted one on the left, you can't see into it, so that's the back bend. So kind of gives you some ideas on a quick ways to look at it. I already kind of jumped ahead on how you would zip it in. What if you cut the light engine, not light guide, but if you cut the light engine, you could just fill it up with electrical grade silicone and cover it up. So that should give you everything. The clip down here on the left, that's actually the clear clip. The metal clip just looks more robust. It seems like it's a lower profile. The light engines, it's showing here that you can cut it with a utility knife. I've cut it with just a bigger pair of electrical snips. Cuts really easily. The light guides themselves, a hacksaw or any rotary tool with a higher teeth count will cut through it really well. Just clean up the edges. Let's see. Like I said, I'm starting to run out of time. All the light guides comes in an 8-foot bag, and there's 96 feet per box. Same thing with the light engines. 8 feet bag. 12 per box, so you get 96 feet. So one box and one box kind of gives you your great fit, other than the rest of the accessory pieces that you need. I've already shown you this. I had another one, a green one here. Again, these were all put on in 2004, 2005. The heart, again, same thing. I'm surprised at how well it has managed. I'm going to jump ahead real quick. I don't want to talk about flux yet. I want to make sure that everybody understands that at any time we can do the drawings for you. You can do some of your own layouts yourself on our website. But if it's anything slightly complex, I would say let us do it. If you have a client, or if you are a client and one of your cities are saying, hey, I need X amount of light out of this sign, send us the sign. We can pretty much calculate out what should be coming out of it and give you that evaluation back to take to the city. If it's a brightness issue, we do have a dimmable power supply. We have a new 100-watt dimmable power supply, 24 volt, and we have a 60-watt dimmable power supply. They're about a little more than twice as much as our standard, but when you need to dim them, what a great product though. Layouts, anytime, send it to tetradrawings@gecurrent.com. If you need to talk to the expert, which is Claire Kariki, please send it to her or Mark McCulka. Mark would be doing the high-end lighting piece. Claire manages all the drawings for us. Like I said, we do have the LED Wizard online that we can get to, that you can do a lot of simple things, especially box signs. That's a great way to use the snap or the stick products and get whatever you want, and it gives you a very accurate answer. So I think you should be pretty happy with that. And sorry for all that. I know I was kind of running ahead. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
Nope, there's nothing in the chat or the questions modules. So I don't think, unless anybody has anything they'd like to comment, feel free.
Or Peggy, if you think I've missed
Yeah.
anything or would like to add anything, please feel free. I always enjoy your wisdom.
Very good job, Paul. Thank you for that. But let's give a moment if anyone else has a question or a comment.
Larry, nothing to say. That's shocking. Let's see, who else do we have? All right. Well, I was trying to leave myself 10 minutes at the end for commentary. So if there are none, thank you all so much for your attendance. Hopefully you got some nugget of knowledge out of this. If you have any questions and you want to ask me anything directly, I can, let me, here, I tell you what.
Larry said, why add to perfect?
Oh, love you, man. Love you. All right, so there's my phone number. If anybody has a question or they just want to do it offline, great. Or if you want to send me an email, which I think is in it, but I'll go ahead. If you want to send me an email or if you have any other questions, I would love to hear them, and I'm here for you at any time.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for all of those who attended. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can also email marketing@tubelite.com. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending.
See you all. Thanks much.
Thanks.